Hamas is apparently overrunning Fatah. They're quickly taking control of that entire Gaza Strip, and from there, that so-called Palestinian Authority is going to begin to unravel. It's a serious war going on, bloodthirsty war. Well, our next guest is a former Palestinian terrorist. He's now a born-again Christian. He's written a fascinating new book that is entitled, quote, "Why We Want to Kill You." Will you please welcome back to the 700 Club, Walid Shoebat. It's good to have you back with us.
See you again, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful book. I congratulate you on it. Why We Want to Kill You. You know, the Western commentators say, well, these people are poor. They're brought up in substandard conditions, and they envy the West, and they're angry because of the Western affluence, and therefore they want to protest. Is that why they blow themselves up?
If the reason for suicide bombing is poverty and lack of hopelessness, why would you never find in the Palestinian areas Christians who commit suicide bombing? The argument could be is, wait a minute, Christians are not accustomed to suicide bombing. Well, you have the second largest terror organization after the PLO is the PFLP, Popular Front to Liberate Palestine, which is ran by a Christian terrorist by the name of George Habash.
Yeah.
Now, George Habash, his organization, whenever they need a suicide bomber, or they would use a Muslim, always, 100% of the time.
The Hindus don't have suicide bombers, and the Buddhists don't have suicide bombers.
That's a very good point. At a university speech, one professor objected to my speech. He said, the reason for terrorism is poverty. So I asked in the audience, I said, do we have anybody from India? And one student said, I am from India. I said, do you guys blow yourselves up as a result of poverty in India? He says, you know, we have lots of poverty in India. None of us blow ourselves up. But they sure come from Pakistan, and they blow us up.
You showed something in here, though, the promise of Islam. And there are people in America that don't believe this. The 72 virgins and perpetual erection and all this stuff. What do they teach? What do they say that these young men are going to get to?
Here's the element that Westerners don't understand why this jihad is going on and why they're killing and why they're dying. It's a message of salvation that Islam is offering. Christianity offers a message of salvation, that by the death of one person, Christ,
right,
by the drop of his blood, that we are saved. In Islam, there is no assurance of salvation. The only way one can assure himself for salvation is by their own death, by the first drop of the blood of the martyr. He now can enter into heaven and intercede for 70 members of his family or her family. So when my cousin Ra'id got killed, my Aunt Fatima had a wedding celebration. It's the law of opposite. Everything.
She had your cousin was killed as a martyr, blew herself up, and they had a wedding celebration.
But he was killed before he was shot. The Israelis figured out what he was going to do, and he was killed.
Right.
And my Aunt Fatima had a wedding celebration. This is what the Westerners don't understand. The entire community will come and join in this wedding celebration. The Friday prayer in the mosque will have a festivity for the death of the martyr. The house of the martyr becomes a museum where the entire community flocks to visit. Posters all over the streets for the martyr, because now he's entered into paradise. This is the problem with Islam, is because Islam rejects the intercession of Jesus Christ. However, Islam does offer the intercession of the martyr, the intercession of a sinner.
Well, now, he gets 72 virgins, pure black-eyed virgins who've never been touched by jinn or man.
It's not just 72 virgins, Pat.
Oh, it's not 72?
It's 72 mansions.
Oh, 72 mansions.
In each mansion, 72 beds, and in each bed, 72 virgins.
That math staggers me.
72 times 72 times 72.
That guy's going to wear himself out for his...
It really doesn't make any sense. But the main issue is not that. The main issue is the salvation issue.
All right.
They want to be saved. And in order to be saved, you die. And because the Quran itself, it says, do not think that the ones who die in the cause of Allah are dead, but are alive with Allah, receiving His blessings.
You know, the people in America, you point out in this book about how we have been duped by the so-called moderate Muslims. This is fundamental teaching of the Quran and of the Islamic world, isn't it? You're not talking about some aberrant group.
Absolutely. I mean, Ja'far al-Tayyar, at the time of Muhammad, okay, relative of the Prophet Muhammad, died in his suicide act as he attacked the enemy. And he had wings, they call him the Flying Ja'far. So suicide missions was in the time of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. The Americans are being duped with this moderate Islam. There are liberal Muslims who don't care about fundamental view of Islam. But however, by far, the fundamentalist view of Islam, Islamic as a religion, has always been taught to us as jihad. Because when you read in the Bible about Antichrist, let's say, he honors a god of war. He honors a god of fortresses.
That's right.
In Islam, Allah, is a god of war. He doesn't honor the desire of women. In Islam, they don't honor the desire of women either. So it's a very antichrist system. Attempts to change times and laws in the Bible regarding the antichrist system. And if you look at Islam, what do they want to do? Change the laws of the world.
Sure.
So all this interpretation that we had in the West about, what is this about changing the laws? They think it's the cosmos or this. No, it's simply what it says.
You pointed out that Allah in the Quran, am I correct in this, is actually a deceiver, that he has the attributes of Satan himself?
Well, the 99 names of Allah are very well known in Islam.
Yeah.
Some of these names, if you look at them, one of the names of Allah in the Quran is Al-Mutakabbir, which means the most proud one. When I read the Bible as a Muslim, and I saw the most proud one in the Bible was Satan, or Al-Mumit, the one who causes death.
Exactly. Well, I'm just writing a book. I've just finished one on humility, and the truth is the root sin of the world is pride. I will exalt myself upon the throne of God.
And that's the problems where Muslims cannot see the truth from the Bible.
But the one that they say is Allah is the most proud one?
The most. We say Al-Mutakabbir.
Yeah.
It's the L, like the Elohim. Al is the most proud one. So the most proud one is Allah.
But that's really Satan.
Exactly. And it's worse than that, because he's the one who causes death, Al-Mumit. Al-Makir, the great deceiver.
Yes.
This is the names of Allah in the Quran. So
they really believe the great deceiver?
Yes.
I mean, in America, we don't hear this.
Yes, in the Quran it says وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah is the greatest of all deceivers. So it is okay. That's why Islam has deception in war. That's why Islam offers hudna, or a peace treaty, to non-Muslims up to 10 years, but they must break the peace treaty somewhere.
Well, the hudna was Oslo. In other words...
you Americans called it the Oslo Peace Accord. We called it the Oslo Hudna Accord. So a hudna is a treaty. It's actually not a peace treaty. It's a ceasefire. In Islam, we're allowed to have a ceasefire for two reasons. Reason number one, to gain concessions.
Yes.
Reason number two, to deceive the enemy and destroy them in the end.
What about the Bush administration, Condoleezza Rice? Bush comes out and says this is a religion of peace. Condoleezza Rice has a celebration at the end of Ramadan and honors these people on account of this great religion. Are they deceived?
It's a deception. I mean, CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations, they say we condemn terrorism. We condemn terrorism. Well, what we need to do as Americans is to say, wait a minute, condemning a terrorism is not a verb, it's an act. How are you condemning terrorism by act? If you look at all the Islamic organizations, the American Muslim Council, all of them, by far, if you look at the demonstrations, what do they say? Khaybar, Khaybar, ya Yahud, Jaysh Muhammad, sawfa ya'ud. I know the Arabic. Khaybar is where the Jews were destroyed in Saudi Arabia by the Prophet Muhammad. And they're chanting in the demonstrations saying, don't forget, Jews, what Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, did to you in Saudi Arabia, in Khaybar, in Medina.
If you were going to stop Islam, what would you do?
We have to understand, this Islamic movement is a cancer.
Yes.
It is a cancer not only that will destroy itself, but it will also destroy us in the process. We must isolate the cancer and have it destroy itself. We have to get out of oil, because that's the only reason why we're so much involved in the Middle East, because of the oil interest. If we get out of oil, because oil is the wine that is causing the intoxication of the nations, and we're selling out on Israel, we're selling out on Christians for the reason of this oil. So if we can get off oil, get into an alternate source of energy, I think both Republicans and Democrats should be happy. Both liberals and conservatives should be happy. Then we can isolate the Middle East and get rid of the problem. So I think isolating it and then crushing a major terror organization, because what we're doing in the West is we're building the confidence of Islamists. We're forcing Israel to pull out of Gaza. Yeah. So we're supporting regimes that is not pro-America at all. And so building the confidence is what we have done in the past. Even in Afghanistan, we aided the Mujahideen against the communists. That was, in a way, a mistake.
The CIA funded the Mujahideen.
That's right. Yeah. And when they defeated Russia, guess what? Now they can defeat America. And Israel wanted to destroy Hamas, Hezbollah and Hamas. What did we say? Israel must pull out of Lebanon. So we twisted Israel's arm to pull out of Lebanon. That built more confidence and more confidence. It's just like the stock market.
And democratic elections, too. We want to have, I remember the Bush saying, oh, we've had a democratic election in the West Bank, and Hamas won.
Hamas won. In fact, 113,000 Arabs in the Middle East were asked the question, do you prefer Hamas or the PLO? Pat, 73.2% chose Hamas over the PLO. What this is saying, I mean, this is a survey done by Al Arabiya Network, an Arab institution. Yeah. 113,000 Muslims chose radical Islam. And that's not just in the Palestinian areas. In Pakistan, 56% want radical Islam. In Jordan, if you have elections, they will choose radical Islam. In Egypt, if you have elections, they will choose radical Islam. In Iraq, if you have elections. We're seeing this over and over again, the rise of Islam. We see a civil war happening now in the Palestinian areas, in which Hamas will be victorious. I've been saying this since 1993. Yeah. I said Lebanon will turn Muslim fundamentalist. Palestine that we're creating, a state is not a state, it's a state of psychosis that will end up in an Islamic fundamentalist. I said Turkey will end up electing Muslim fundamentalist organization. We have the AKP, the Refah party. Turkey was the eastern part of the Roman Empire. We as Christians are waiting for a revival of a Roman Empire. Do we forget what is going to happen from the eastern part of the Roman Empire?
One last question. I see our time's running up, but do you think they're going to try to blow up something big here in America? Are they bloodthirsty to try to really kill many of Americans?
Pat, they've already tried. You know, they haven't succeeded. 10 airplanes to blow up, Sears Tower, and lately trains they want to blow up, and all these things, they haven't succeeded. They want to do a grand finale. If you look at every single terror operation that they attempted to do, and they've succeeded in 9/11, is a grand finale to destroy this country. This is why I thank God for your program, that we're telling Americans really what's going on. A grand finale that will cripple the economy of the United States of America, because America is the mama bear, America is the police force that is stopping tyrants in the Middle East. They must destroy and cripple this economy and this country.
And I understand there's been a fatwa issued that gives them permission to kill 10 million Americans. Is that right?
This fatwa is galore. You know, the fatwa has been going on for years. Yeah. Islam is simply a religion that was wounded and wants to heal its wound. The Westerners don't understand. The reason they hate us so much, they hate the West so much, is because we have dismantled the caliphate. The caliphate that was in Turkey, in the Ottoman Empire. They want to revive the caliphate. This is the whole call for reviving the caliphate. It is a wounded beast that wants to heal its wound and rise again to dominate, as in the glory days when Islam dominated the East. That's what it wants to do. It has nothing to do with Israel. It has nothing to do with poverty. It uses poverty just to say America is at fault. Sure. Zionist conspiracies and all these things.
Well, you're fascinating. I know we've got to move on to you other guests, but it's why we want to kill you. You ought to read it, folks. Everybody in this audience ought to read this, and I wish the people who made policy in Washington, D.C. would read it. It's available in bookstores everywhere. Why we want to kill you. And Walid, it's a pleasure to have you back with us.